So the three minor shapes, minor triad shapes, consider them the counterparts to the major. They just have a flattened third. So if we take the E-shaped A chord that we covered in the last video, root again is on the D string. Here's the root. This would be the major third, and this would be the fifth. So to make this into a minor chord, all we have to do is flatten this major third and move it flat a half step. So again, the root remains on we're not changing the root, it stays on the D string. And we flatten. Best way that I see to do it is just bar the G and the B string with your index. And there you have the minor version of this major version. The second major chord we're going to look at is that C-shaped. If you remember C-shaped, its root is totally inverted. We went from the root on the D, this is the root on the B. So it's totally an inverted chord. Again, root on the B string. Root on the B string. Your fifth is on the G string, and your third is on the D string. So if we flatten the third, just moving that down, we get this kind of a triangle look. You may recognize that from the D7 shape in open position. But because we're playing it on different strings, it's no longer a 7 chord, it's a minor. Well, again, the root, in this case F, this would be an F minor chord. So we've covered the E shape, flattened that. We've covered now the C shape, flattening that. All we have left is the A shape, root on the G string. So if root's on the G string, our fifth is on the D string, and our major third is on the B string. So we have to flatten our third to get the minor chord, minor triad. There we have a very common shape you're used to playing, the A minor shape. Again, important to remember where that root's at. That's the key to knowing what chord you're on. So there's the three minor shapes, all derived from the same three major shapes, just by flattening the third. So how do you know where the third and the fifth are located on a chord? Again, it all goes back to the root. knowing where the root is, and knowing what the interval is between the root and a third, or the interval between a root and a fifth. One easy way to look at it is by using math. If you look at the scale, for instance, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and you map out C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then back to C. But assign numbers to those: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And note that in this case we're using in the key of C, C being the 1 first note, and the third, which is the E, and the fifth, which is the G. There's a distance between all these notes in chromatic steps or half steps. And every major scale has it broke down by a whole step, and a half step, and a whole step, and a whole step, and a whole step, and a half step. And you probably have seen this before. But if you count a whole step being 2 frets or 2 chromatic steps, half step being 1, you'll see that to get to this note here, we have to add 2 whole steps together, which gives us 4 half steps. To get to this note here, we have to add another half step, so that takes us to 5. And then we add another whole step, which takes us to 7. So 4 and 7. 4 is the third, 7 is the distance from the root in half steps to the fifth. So what does that have to do with anything? Well, the guitar is based on these strings being spaced out 5 half steps apart, except for when going from G to B, it's 4 half steps apart. And then back to 5 half steps between B and E. So by using simple math, you can find where your 4 half steps would be, or your 7 half steps would be. Or in other terms, your third and your fifth. So I'll show you an example. Since we're using this particular triad, the E-shaped, this would be here, the E-shaped A chord. If this is our root on the D string, we're looking for our third. Okay, we know the third is how many half steps from the root? 4. That's correct. What's the distance between this note and this note? They're both on, same fret, different string. The distance is 5 half steps. We're looking for 4, so we're subtracting 1. And there we are. There's our root, our major third. The same can be said for getting to the fifth or 7 half steps interval. Root here to 5. Add another 4 because we're crossing from G to B. We're at 9. We're looking for 7, 8, 7. So by just doing the math, boom, there's our root, third, and fifth. So wherever your root is, you can use this little math trick to find your third and your seven. Now it's when you're going I guess in the upward movement for locations, if this was your root, the math works in reverse, basically. You take 12 and you subtract the interval between the string, which is 5. So 12 minus 5 is 7. If this is the root, this is our fifth. You take 7 minus 4 is 3. Add 1, we're at 4. There's our major third. So this would be a triad, a root, fifth, and a major third. So this is just a guide to help you see where those notes are as you get more and more familiar with the location of those notes. Then you won't need to use the math in your head to do it, but it's a good way to kind of visually, mathematically see root 5, 10, 15, 19 and 5 is 24. 24 divided by 12, there's 12 notes in an octave. Those notes right there are 2 octaves apart. They're both A's, just 2 different octaves apart. So the main ones you'll be probably being able to see really easily is the octave 5, 10, 11, 12. There's the octave from this note. Root note, octave. Five, 6, 7. There's a fifth. So, the reason I'm showing you this is basically so when you have that major triad and you know where the root is, you can find where that third is and flatten it. Figure those out on your own. So once you learn the 3 majors, the 3 minors, just come by flattening that third, and you're home free for those 6 different triad shapes on the D, G, and B string.